I'm PJ Kwong, and we are changing the conversations for SGS Live. And in today's session, we're talking about functional safety in transportation, or FUSA. Let's face it, transportation has and continues to evolve, as have the standards. The advancement of electric and automated vehicles increases the importance of functional safety and cybersecurity in their development. It's much more than seatbelts and airbags. We're calling this edition Keeping You from Crashing. Security and Safety Drive Today's Transportation. We're looking to cover a lot of ground today with our experts. First, I would like to welcome Dusan Nikolic, Technical Business Development Director, Transportation, SGS North America. Welcome, Dusan.
Hi, PJ. Thanks for having me.
I'd also like to welcome Willy Fabritius, SGS Global Head of Strategy and Business Development, Information Security Assurance. Thanks for joining us, Willy.
Thank you, PG, for having me on this show. Much appreciated.
Well, we're going to get started in just a moment, but first I'd like to welcome our final guest, and that is Tom Tasky, Vice President, FEVIO North America. Tom, thanks for being here. You know what, Tom? I'm going to get started with you. Can you tell me a little bit about you and FEVIO? I'm going to ask you right off the top how FEVIO and how that works within SGS North America. Give me a breakdown.
Sure thing, thanks. So FEV is a global engineering services provider working in the automotive industry, but as well as other transportation and mobility industries and companies on a global basis. So one of the solutions that we provide within FEVIO, a sub-brand within the FEV group, is systems engineering, which includes functional safety and cybersecurity, the topics at hand today. So this is where we developed a partnership with SGS. We started with functional safety training. It had a great collaboration. It's continued to grow from there. So as we continue to work together with our SGS partnership and colleagues now, it's really to provide a full suite of solutions to our customers related to functional safety and cybersecurity.
We're going to be hearing more about that in just a little bit. But for right now, Willy, you and I know each other through these Changing the Conversations, but maybe you can let our audience know a little bit about you for those who don't know you.
Yeah, of course. So I started in the third-party assessment domain some 25 years ago. And I'm originally from FEV's hometown of Aachen, Germany, where I studied computer science. So there is an interesting connection between, those two organizations. And I started as a quality management system auditor, so for ISO 9001, and then later on QS 9000, and then TR 6949, respectively IATF 6949. But because of my educational background of studying computer science at the RWTH Aachen in Germany, I got very, very quickly involved in auditing to British standard 7799, which was the predecessor to ISO 27001, which is Information Security Management System. And then, obviously, during the course of my career, I moved into various positions and various certification bodies. And now I'm, as I already said, the global head for strategy and business development here at SGS. And I'm also sitting on some ISO committees, namely ISO Subcommittee 27 and Subcommittee 42, which are responsible for writing ISO 27001 series of standards, respectively ISO 42001 series of standard, which is about AI and everything related to AI. So once again, thank you very much for having me on this show.
So, Dusan, it's now your turn. As we saw, both Tom and Willy are quite busy. What about you? What kind of work fills your days?
Thanks, PJ. Yeah, they're busy. So let me start by saying that, as an IATF auditor, among the other things, we know that focus of the automotive IATF 6949 quality management system are customer-specific requirements. We see now that as the industry is entering a new era and with electrification and technology advancements, that automotive OEMs currently require from their suppliers not only compliance to IATF 6949 QMS, but also assurances that the products have been developed in compliance with some other technical standards. I will mention here the topic, we talk about functional safety, so FUSA standards and cybersecurity standards, and then of course software development standards, then secure data exchange standards, and so on. So my job is to make sure that SGS is on top of these requirements and capable of providing engineering and assessment services to our automotive clients. So busy and exciting times, PJ.
Do you know what? It sounds like you're all super busy, and we've got lots of things that we're going to talk about. But the first thing we're going to talk about is FUSA, or functional safety. And I guess, Tom, I think we should start by defining what that is and why does it matter?
Important. So functional safety is a very serious matter. So we think about the potential for human injury, the product injury, potential damage to the vehicle, maybe pedestrians. There's a liability, the risk to a company's reputation, and ultimately possibly market share. So there's a lot to that. So with increased complexity, as we know in the industry, especially with electric and electronic systems, or EE systems, there's increased possibilities for harm as well as these systems grow and get more and more complex. So functional safety is different from product safety. Product safety is more about system not performing, as required. Safety engineering, following ISO 26262 primarily, involves understanding the related hazards and risks, as well as the failure mechanisms, and developing appropriate measures to mitigate systematic or random hardware failures. That's a very high-level overview of what functional safety covers. There'll be some level of acceptable risk, but the safety process is meant to define it and reduce it. So in the end, you develop a safety case. There's basically a legal argument that is used to defend your design. It could even possibly be used in a court of law to show that you did, the engineering team did their best of their abilities to design the product.
You know what? I've got another question, and it's kind of about the what and the why we've already heard about, but I want to know kind of who needs FUSA, who needs functional safety. Willie, this is for you. Do you know what? We may have a bit of a technical issue. Dusan or Tom, are you able to talk to me a little bit about who needs this?
Well, I can jump in from the quality management point of view. If you're automotive suppliers, you're going to have assurances, as I said previously, that your product and that you're selling to OEM is capable of doing what design requires. As Tom said, there's a level of risks that's acceptable. But similar to FMEA, ISO 26262 has hazard analysis and risk analysis that basically, provide more information to the developer as to what the final product should look like. Tom, I don't know if you want anything to add. Anything, please. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you know what? Yeah.
Sorry,
please.
PJ, go ahead. Okay.
No, I was going to say, please jump in.
I mean, every system today needs a functional safety and cybersecurity assessment and development because, again, the complexities, the risk, and the nature of these EE systems. The functional safety process is now very much embedded within every vehicle development process, thankfully, and that is used then to deliver safe products. So it is critical that this is part of the development cycle in today's automotive landscape.
So, Willie, you're here, which is wonderful because you were one of the people that I wanted to hear from. I want to know who needs FUSA. Can you maybe jump in?
Well, one could argue everyone involved in the automotive industry, or as I like to say, in the mobility industry. Because traditionally, when we say automotive, sorry, I'm an old guy. I'm thinking about that thing with the four wheels and the steering wheel. But when we are thinking what we see today, when we are thinking about what we will see in just a couple of years from now, mobility is different. And that means, the kind of transportation we see is different. For example, just yesterday, I saw in Antwerp, Belgium, an interesting vehicle, I thought, and that was, let's say, a traditional bicycle where a person is sitting down and using the pedals, and then behind that person there was some kind of a trailer with four wheels that was following the bicycle, and when the bicycle stopped, the trailer stopped. And yes, those two vehicles were connected with some kind of a chain or a cable, but so the bicycle got the energy from the person, but the trailer got the energy from a battery pack and driven by electric motors. Well, that is not automotive. Yet, I think it falls definitely into what we are going to see in the future. And that kind of vehicle has all kinds of silicon in it, meaning it's most likely connected to the internet. Why not, right? And therefore is prone for attacks from the outside. And there comes information security into the game in terms of how are we protecting this kind of environment? How are we protecting this kind of vehicle? And then obviously people say, just hold on, isn't that cybersecurity, not information security? And by the way, what's the difference? And I say, just hold on. Cybersecurity is the umbrella term, and cybersecurity is included. So for example, we are exchanging information right now. We could have that very same conversation downstairs at the bar in my hotel. We wouldn't necessarily need to use Teams as we do here, or linked live, right? We could use just talking. And that is information security. Cybersecurity, on the other hand, is included in that, and then brings that technical component. Now, functional safety on top of that, or as part of that entire ecosystem of requirements, make sure that the vehicles are secure, as Tom already said earlier. For example, that bicycle with the trailer.
Do you know what? That is a way of looking at it that I haven't really considered before. And I know that for our audience, you are catching a fascinating conversation between me and my guests, SGS FUSA, or functional safety experts, Dusan Nikolic and Willy Fabritius, along with Tom Tasky from FEVIO. And we're talking about helping our customers in the transportation industry, which, as we saw with the bicycle and the trailer, covers a lot of ground. So, if we're looking at functional safety or FUSA through the evolution of transportation, what does that look like? As in, how far have we really come, Dusan, in the industry?
Well, I just heard Willie said I'm older generation, so so am I, Willie, as you know. So when we
So am I.
started driving, so when we started driving, you will remember that some cars didn't even have safety belts, really. So that was big change at the time in the 80s. As the technology advanced over the decades and years, OEM started basically adding additional safety items. First, these were warnings, visual or audio warnings that you would see or hear in the car. And then as the acceleration in technology development were brought into automotive industry and the vehicle safety sensors were providing more reliable information, we can say, about the surrounding space, the vehicle processors or computers started making decisions on behalf of the driver in an instant, much faster than humans could do. For example, by applying brakes and taking control of the steering wheels, by pushing and directing you towards the center lane. We all witness that today, controlling your speed by following at a safe distance from the car in front of you, and so on. So the driver assistant technologies of today, such as forward collision warning, lane departure, rear cross traffic warnings, blind spot warning, and so on, are now standard for all vehicles on the market, even the ones for, let's call them, for a lower budget. We already see that this technology is going to take us in the future years. Where is this technology going to take us in the future years? The autonomous driving vehicles are already part of the vehicle fleet in some big cities in the United States, for example. So topics like vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle security, and vehicle data privacy, as Will mentioned, is a must-have requirement nowadays when dealing with the automotive OEMs. PJ.
You know, I noticed on those slides, one of my favorite words, quality, was in the top right-hand corner. So in keeping with that automotive evolution kind of theme, I want to know, what part does quality play in that, Willie?
I like that question because traditionally, when we think quality, we think, you know, endurance of a part or the quality of an engine or I don't know, how long does my tire live or something like that, right? But one of the best definitions of the word quality I ever had the privilege to hear was quality is fulfilling expressed and non-expressed expectations of the client. So let's digest that for a second. Expressed expectations of the client is very clear. I want to have a red vehicle. I want to have a vehicle with 2 doors, 4 doors, or whatever, right? I want to have a vehicle with whatever horsepower or whatever, right? That's what the client specifies. But the client does not specify, by the way, if I hit the brake pedal, it should brake. That's a given, isn't it, right? And with Dusan's example earlier of advanced technology, yes, I do expect that a new vehicle I'm buying today has lane detection and forward warning systems. I just simply expect it. I'm not writing that down. And in the same token, I do expect that the connectivity is not a risk. That, yes, I do understand that those modern vehicles are all connected somehow to the internet and therefore are obviously potentially exposed to all kinds of risks. I do not expect that these risks are putting my life at risk, but I'm not specifying that. And that is for me an example of the unexpressed, non-expressed expectations of the customer. And therefore, information security, cybersecurity, functional safety is quality. Quality includes all those domains. No question about that.
You know what? That is a fascinating definition and one that I hadn't thought of. And it kind of leads right into a trivia question. I always have a trivia question for our audience, and today is no exception. Dusan, Willie, and Tom, you can't play because you already know the answer. But I know, disappointment. I get that. Here is the question, and it's true or false. A thermal sensor in a system that causes the system to cut out if it overheats is a functional safety measure. True or false? I'm going to wait a second before I reveal the answer, but I want, as a layperson, I'd kind of like to understand the difference between a safety measure and a functional safety measure. So, Tom, you and I were talking about that before the broadcast. Can you just kind of give me a bit of a difference between those two?
Yeah, I think product safety, I think, is part of the quality and what Willie was saying as far as inherent measures or deliverables to customers, and then functional safety are the measures put in place based on known malfunction. So there is a difference. It can be a little confusing, but there is a difference with how the systems are designed.
And you know what's so interesting? It's becoming less confusing the more that the four of us are talking. The three of you are sharing your expertise, of course. The answer to the question is number 2. It's false. It turns out that insulation to protect the system against high temperatures is a safety measure, but not a functional safety measure. Both may prevent fire, but they are very much different. And as you said, it's a little bit subtle, but I'm getting more clear on what the differences are. Okay, so let's get back to our conversation. There's been a lot of important information so far, but what about the other side of the safety coin? Willie, security is also a rising concern. All new vehicles are connected. What does that mean from a security standpoint?
Well, this is actually a very simple question to a very complex subject. And yes, the vehicle and its system need to be safe and secured, but there's more to it. It actually must start in the design phase. We all have heard that phrase, quality can't be inspected into the part. but can only be designed into the part and the process of manufacturing it. And the very, very same is true for security. Security can't be inspected into the vehicle, but can only be designed into the vehicle and its components and into the process developing these components. And there comes the management system in place. There comes the governance structure that is so important. We cannot say, we just simply bring out this vehicle, and if there is some kind of an issue, we just simply patch it. Well, this is the stop measure. It really needs to start way before that. And the second aspect I would like to point out is the fact that robust governance is absolutely essential to ensure a comprehensive and holistic approach. And that's what I meant with, a governance system, a management system. And no, it cannot be just TR 6949 or IATF 6949, because that is, inverted comma, just looking at the quality component. There needs to be something like ISO 27001 that addresses the information security system. So we need to see it as an holistic approach.
You know what, Tom? I'm going to ask you to jump in. I may be putting you on the spot, but I think you've probably got something to add.
Yeah, well, first of all, I fully agree with Willy. It's just great coverage of that. So, we look at as vehicles have become more and more complex with all the features and capabilities, but that added complexity just increases the overall risk. The attack surface and risk is exposed and is greater. So implementing security controls on a vehicle system to achieve like a depth in defense, how do you protect it, requires a lot more resources. Critical, but it's critical and necessary. And these are not typical, maybe automotive or mobility engineers that come into play here. So it's a big new endeavor in the industry to add this coverage. And even if you do everything right and have the latest and greatest security controls in place, there's always the risk of 0-day vulnerabilities. What's going to happen today? Anything that's previously undiscovered, new vulnerabilities are going to pop up. So you have to anticipate that. That's why it's important to have good, strong incident response approach and team, vulnerability management. What do you do? And related processes in place to address it efficiently. So there's a lot to it. So implementation, what's going to happen next, and how to respond. So a lot of new challenges.
So if I wanted to get specific about standards in the transportation industry, I guess I'd like to know what they are and why are they in place? And Willie, I'm going to come to you for that.
Yeah, there are two standards, or should I say two sets of requirements that are coming to my mind. And the first one is TISAX. And TISAX stands for Trusted Information Security Assessment Exchange. Yes, I know it's a very long term, but TISAX originated in Germany as the result of the German car industry recognizing the importance of protecting their intellectual property, their information they have. So regardless whether it's, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, VW, Porsche, Audi, name it, they are exchanging a lot of information with their supply base. That could be drawings, part specifications, production schedules, and yes, prototypes. And yes, employee data, because they might need to do a background check or they might process payroll. All that kind of information needs to be protected. And this is where then TISAX kicks in. So TISAX is an information security management system tailored for the automotive industry suppliers based upon ISO 27001, but also includes prototypes and it also includes personally identifiable information. So then there is automatically the question, what kind of companies are affected by that? And it's something like very simple and straightforward. If you are a supplier to the German car industry, you are falling under TISAX. And this is not limited to, let's say, the classical parts suppliers. So in the United States, we had actually inquiries from ad agencies making commercials for one of the OEMs. And of course, they are falling under TISAX because they have access to the vehicles before the vehicle is even officially publicly announced. So the question is obviously, how would they protect that information of those vehicles? Major cloud providers have been assessed to TISAX and have received the label because everyone, including we today, are using major cloud providers to exchange, store, and process information. So that's TISAX. And then there's another very important standard. It's an ISO SAE standard. It's 21434. And the title is very simple: Road Vehicles Cybersecurity Engineering. And that standard specifies the engineering requirements for cybersecurity risk assessment regarding the concept, the product development, production, operation, maintenance, as well as the commissioning of those electrical and electronic systems on road vehicles, including their components and interfaces. And yes, that might include, I'm not sure yet, but that might include that famous bicycle with the trailer behind it, because it's a road vehicle.
Yeah, it's on the road. So vehicle is kind of the way I think about it. So for those of you who are just joining us, we are talking about functional safety, or FUSA, with my SGS experts, Dusan Nikolic and Willy Fabritius, and FEVIO North American Vice President Tom Tasky. We have the best audiences anywhere, and they come from all over the globe. We want to extend a warm welcome to everybody who's watching. So don't forget, there's going to be a Q&A at the end of this interview segment. But for right now, I want to get back to the questions. So Tom, I want to dive a little deeper into the standards area. Can you please give me some examples of how adherence to standards such as ISO 26262, 26262, I did that right? Those numbers all going in a row. And ISO SAE 21434, how do they play a critical role in addressing safety and security?
Yeah, they give you the framework and the process to follow for what needs to be done. So thankfully now, functional safety 26262 has been pretty well established in the mobility industry, and even to that great example that Willy shared, it'll eventually get there. Thankfully, people realize that these standards provide the guidance for how to address safety and now cybersecurity. So again, functional safety, we've seen it well adopted, well established in the industry. Not just automotive, but many other industries are actually adopting it as well because of the value it provides. So then looking at cybersecurity, we need to look back. It's interesting, I think back in 2015, the infamous GPAC, that really placed a big focus on the need for cybersecurity within the industry. So the standards, thankfully, the cybersecurity standard follows a very similar approach to the functional safety standard. So ISO SAE 21434 and even up in the R155 standard have really helped drive the importance of cybersecurity in automotive systems. Yeah, they provide a generic framework for automotive cybersecurity, but it does leave it, and it's broad enough for OEMs and tier ones and providers to determine how they want to implement the various work products and secure their systems. So great framework, great adoption of these standards to help guide the industry of how to address it. But again, the freedom a little bit to allow them to tailor it to their own needs and satisfy the standard as well.
Dusan, I'm going to come back to you. I'd like to know what a typical case might look like, as well as what are the possible outcomes.
Okay, PJ. So any malfunctioning behavior of electric and electronic system you can imagine. I'm not going to use the example of that Willy brought up with the bicycle and a trailer, but think about, let's say, a car on a highway. You have a sensor sensing or scanning the surrounding area, and they see a picture of a girl on a billboard on an overpass or next to the highway. So, the sensor could recognize that as a true danger and basically slam on brakes, for no reason. So this is how important it is for these sensors to be basically assessed in the right way. So they give the true value to the computer that basically makes a decision to stop the car. So ISO 26262 and 21488 that goes very often together with 26262 cover the aspect of vehicle functional safety. On the other hand, as we learned so far, as Willy said, ISO 21434 standards is intended to address cybersecurity for road vehicles in a way similar to that which ISO 26262 does for functional safety. So the combination of safety and cybersecurity assurance is interchangeable. A security problem may allow a hacker, for example, to disable or fool a safety system. So we don't want that, definitely. So their interconnection must be properly addressed between these two standards. As Willy mentioned, one definition of product quality is its ability to meet the customer or end user requirements. We should be looking at these standards as integral parts of product quality, as we mentioned earlier. As we know, the product quality and customer satisfaction is the goal of any quality management system, such as IATF 16949 or ISO 9001. It is our goal to build a compliance on the backbone of a quality management system, as we can find similarities in the form of processes, activities, techniques, or measures, which simultaneously basically satisfy requirements of more than one standard used. So I hope that explains a case that you asked me about. Thanks.
Do you know what? I love the fact that throughout all of these changing the conversations, I always get the chance to learn so much. So we're going to have a couple more questions before our Q&A. So Tom, let's talk about the approach and process to FUSA. So functional safety, V models, data aggregation and production, etc. Can you fill us in?
Sure. So functional safety follows the traditional engineering V model. So it ideally started in the concept phase of vehicle development. It's where it really needs to take place and get kicked off. So it starts with a clear definition of the item. What are we assessing in the end? Understand exactly that focus and scope. We need to understand its function, the behaviors, the intended usage. All this lets the safety engineers then evaluate and do the safety engineering work. The hazard and risk and assessment process identifies the known malfunctions, and risk is assessed based on exposure, severity, and controllability. So that's a very quick, high-level description of the process. Then this all leads to the development of an implementation of applicable safety requirements. And again, this goes all the way through SOP or start of production and even decommissioning of the product. And similar to what was mentioned earlier, cybersecurity following a very similar approach. So full end-to-end of the life cycle of the product. So, but also interestingly, functional safety standard also defines the need for safety culture within organizations and supporting processes within those organizations as well. So there must be this there is this expectation that companies embrace these standards and adopt that safety culture and mentality to basically enforce it through organizations to deliver safe products. So really the standard tells you what to do, but not necessarily how to do it. And that's where we step in, the how. That's where we provide our guidance to our customers.
You know what? Great information. But if we're going to delve a little bit more into info security and cybersecurity, I want to know how that fits in. So Willy, how about you fill me in?
Well, information security, or InfoSec as it is casually talked, and cybersecurity and functional safety are distinct and distinctly different, yet very much connected. And those three disciplines must really work together, as well as others, of course, to ensure that the vehicle not just meets customer expectations, but also regulatory requirements. So please allow me to give you a couple of examples. So in a modern vehicle, all the subsystems are connected and communicating with one another, right? I mean, let's face it, the CAN bus technology is 30 plus years old. So all those components, the infotainment system, the steering wheel, the power seats, are all working together, right? So let's say the user gets this information in the dashboard that the right brake light is not working. And therefore, obviously, the driver decides rightfully to go to the repair shop to have it repaired. While there, the driver says, hey, just out of curiosity, how much would it cost to activate my satellite radio? Remember, the hardware is already there. The function of the satellite radio is not activated because it's only activated after paying a fee. So the dealer tells the driver the price, and the driver says, okay, no problem, please go ahead. And the dealer now flashes or activates the satellite radio function. But the software in the vehicle for the satellite radio is a little bit outdated. So while activating the satellite radio, the dealer then therefore automatically flashes the satellite radio with the latest and greatest code. Unfortunately, that flashing also erases the access code for the vehicle to open the driver's garage door at home. Do you think the driver would be happy about that? Of course not, right? Or let's make another example. The owner uses the vehicle every Wednesday afternoon to visit first a marriage counseling office, and then on the way back home, the driver stops by an alcohol shop, and afterwards the driver goes to an adult entertainment store.
Wow.
The driver brings the vehicle for a routine maintenance job. His or her brother-in-law is the mechanic, and while evaluating the onboard diagnostics message, they also read out the geolocations of where the vehicle is every Wednesday. That could lead to some interesting discussions, and obviously privacy concerns, right? And please don't tell me these are just, futuristic theoretical examples. It's a well-known case, so I don't have even a problem mentioning the company's name that was involved. But there was this manufacturer that manufactured microwaves, and that microwave oven for the kitchen is obviously connected to the internet, that kind of thing. Sooner or later, there is some kind of an issue. Software needs to be flashed. Software is updated. Unfortunately, the microwaves got flashed with the wrong firmware, and they got flashed with the firmware for some kind of other system, let's say a water kettle, right? So therefore, now the micro oven thinks that it's a water kettle, and therefore is looking for a particular sensor that doesn't exist, and it's so bad that even the over-the-air firmware update is not possible, and technicians need to go out to the consumers' kitchens and houses to flash the firmware, not over the air, but manually. Do you think the consumers are happy about that? No. Do you think if that happens with the vehicle, the driver, the owners would be happy? No. And these are the kind of things we need to consider when we are talking about information security, cybersecurity, and functional safety. There are all kinds of risks involved, and we need to identify those risks so that we have appropriate, suitable countermeasures in place.
You know what? I am very interested in how busy that guy is on a Wednesday. My goodness. Great example.
Did I say guy or person? I don't know.
Person, excuse me. My fault. So we are quickly running out of time. I've only got time for one more question, but it's going to be sort of for all three of you. So let's start with Dusan and then Tom. I want you to bring it back around to SGS services. Can you please talk to me about the relationship between SGS and FEVIO, especially as FEV is the expert in vehicle development, while SGS is the expert in data. And then at the very end, Willy, I want you to give me some final thoughts. And for everybody out there who wants more information, make sure you scan our QR code to get in touch, and we will be able to help you there. And so let's go. Dusan, let's start with you.
Thanks, PJ. So think about SGS as accredited certification body. So from the accreditation and impartiality point of view, SGS really cannot be counseling and then assessing and auditing the same topic for the same client. This is what we call conflict of interest. So for this reason, SGS and FEV made a partnership in which FEV, as an engineering company, can be helping companies achieve the compliance. They're helping them, they're building the system with them. So after that, if in FEV's view the client's ready, the compliance is achieved, then SGS can step in with auditing or assessing the compliance and certifying the clients to different standards. So this partnership keeps two companies independent from each other to assure that impartiality of the process is in place, right? Tom, I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great partnership. The great thing is here, it's complementary, meaning we build upon existing capabilities and experience. So it's been a great outcome. Therefore, we see this partnership as an immense value to our customers. Our customers now have direct access to the full range of services required for functional safety development, audit, assessment, a one-stop shop, really. So when our customers inquire about ISO 26262 development, they already know FEV's core strengths. We're an engineering service provider. We've got successful safe system development, and it's proven. That capability is now enhanced with the confidence gained with the partnership with SGS, as Dusan mentioned, accredited independent body assessing the compliance. So, again, as Dusan said, we maintain that impartiality by clearly separating FEV's achievement of compliance during development from the rigor SGS provides during audits and assessments. So in the end, customers have stronger confidence in the overall safety of their system. So it's working quite well.
Willy, final thoughts from you about this partnership and about FUSA in general.
Yeah, I really would like to point out that both FEV as well as SGS are heavily involved in driving advancements in standards. Both organizations are represented on a variety of committees and variety of working groups and international global teams driving the standardization. I totally casually dropped yesterday in Antwerp. Well, today I'm in Brussels, Belgium, at an international conference for EU cybersecurity. In 3 or 4 weeks, can't even remember, I will be in Redmond, no, not at Microsoft, but yes, at Microsoft, at an ISO committee meeting, where we are helping to develop new standards. And that knowledge, that expertise that FEV and SGS bring to those committees are obviously also being shared with our clients at the earliest possible time. And that is a huge competitive advantage that our clients will gain from working with us.
You know what? I've got to tell you that this has been an absolutely fascinating session for me. Before I let the three of you go, I want to know who's going to be at the Southern Automotive Roadshow and what's happening there May 2nd in Chattanooga, May 4th in Birmingham, both in the United States. There's a QR code on that poster if you want to find out more information. Why should people go?
Oh, well, that's a good question, PG. I could say people should go to this show so that they have the opportunity to meet Dusan. That
Thanks.
would be, one possible
Perfect.
answer.
That's good.
But kidding aside, obviously, we are pulling off some very interesting, very intriguing, in-depth presentations. We have high caliber people there giving the attendees a great, fantastic overview and deep insight knowledge of developments. way more than this live event even could do in just an hour's time. We have, as I said, high caliber representatives from all kinds of industry groups. I'm not going into detail at this moment in time, but stay tuned.
You know what? This has been such a great session. So interesting, such useful information. I'd love to thank my guests, Tom Tasky from FEVIO and Dusan Nikolic and Willy Fabritius from SGS for joining me today to talk about achieving functional safety and the next steps for our customers. For you, our audience, we are so delighted that you joined us. If you want more information, just scan the QR code and you will be taken to a page that will allow you to access more information. And me, I'm PJ Kwong for Changing the Conversations on SGS Live. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.